Welcome. This is just yoga with a theme about curiosity. I think we lack curiosity in our time and age. We want to jump to the conclusion so fast because that brings us comfort and we feel that we are in control when we know the answer. But sometimes being in that state of curiosity is so good for us because we are open, we are staying tuned, we're in the process. So I hope you'll be in the process of moving with me on the mat today. We'll start standing actually today. So get some distance in between your feet so you are firmly grounded on the floor. And maybe you move your feet, your legs a little bit. And then tall spine, let your hands drop down by your side, palms facing forward. That's our mountain pose. And then close your eyes. You might have been standing like this a gazillion times before. But have you been curious about how it feels to be standing right here? Try to be curious about your feet, the connection to the mat and the floor. It's okay to move a little bit. What about your legs as well? Do you have a soft bend in those knees? And what does that feel like? Maybe you kind of squeeze the muscles, kind of engage them and relax them. Can you get both the thigh as well as the lower part of the leg engaged? Then what about your hip? Maybe you move your hip if you feel like it. Put your hands in your waist. With your eyes closed so you sense more than you see. Move your hip. Just paying attention to what's going on in the hip, in the lower back. Also be curious about any pain or things you might experience as we kind of do our body scan here. And then release your hands from the waist and then focus on the trunk, the whole core. That includes the spine. So maybe you suck the navel in. I try to squeeze it in like you were doing a crunch. And relax. Maybe move your spine from left to right. Maybe without moving your hip as much. Any differences from left to right or anything that you just have not noticed before? And then move your attention more towards the shoulders, the shoulder blades. I don't know if you've ever thought about the connection between the shoulder girdle and the shoulder blade, those elephant ears there behind us. How they move together, work together like a team. You're welcome to incorporate the movements of the arms as well, the wrists, everything. And then you can be curious about your face. Maybe you bring your hands towards your face, or maybe you just open your jaw, your mouth. Do some postures with your face you have not done for a while. And then just breathe slowly for a few breaths here. I'm going to share a quote with you. Should be Albert Einstein who said this about curiosity. The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existence. One cannot help but be in awe when he contemplates the mysteries of eternity, of life, of the marvelous structures of reality. So let's be in awe of movement, maybe of the nature and everything around us. I don't know where you were standing, but get some distance in between your feet, wider than before, toes pointing out, and then bend your knees, and we're going to glide from side to side. So hopefully you'll be curious to some fun movements here on the mat. So take your arms and kind of sling them from side to side here. Opening up the hips, warming the thighs. And then stretch your legs and stop the movement. Bring your hands overhead, toes still pointing out. Maybe a slight bend in the knees is nice. Bring yourself towards your right side. Bring that right hand down, maybe behind you. Lift up again, going for the opposite side. Maybe use your breath. Inhale and exhale to the side. Inhale up, exhaling. It's a little bit of balance here. All right. Putting our hands down at the top end of the mat where it makes the most sense as you were watching a screen. Downward facing dog. If you're used to doing yoga, and probably you are, let's do a narrow downward facing dog just for the sake of being curious. So maybe step your feet slightly closer and just notice what feels different in the kind of a short down dog. Can you relax your shoulders more? And then step your feet further back, further than you would. So maybe a really wide downward facing dog. What do you feel there? Still bending the elbows a little bit, softening the knees. And then move the heels off the mat, glide into a plank. Take your knees down, go for an up dog, a soft variation up towards the sky with the nose. And child's pose. And this time let's do a knees together child's pose. Often I say wide distance, but let's just feel this one out. Can you feel your breath being challenged here when you kind of squeeze together? Not a lot of space for the diaphragm to help us breathe. And then lift up again. Down dog. Doing maybe a new sequence. Take the right leg up and back. Kind of shoot the foot back. And then point the toes. So we have the toes pointing out. Move into plank with that toe lifted. You don't have to go all the way. Maybe your hip is a little bit higher than you normally would. And then go back into down dog. Bring the right leg that you have elevated maybe to the middle of the mat. So not all the way to the front. Lift the back leg off and go for a forward fold with a split. And you can either just stay here with your hands on the floor or grab that ankle, the right ankle, to see what makes sense here. So I'm actually not going to a full forward fold. Maybe then you soften the left leg that you have lifted and see if you can keep your balance coming into a stand. It doesn't have to be pretty. Bring the left leg to the front and hug the knee in. Lower down the right foot at the top end of the mat. And then go for a side variation here. So you stay put. Just going to show you. Your left leg stays on the floor. Your right leg moves out to the side. You bring your arms out here, at least for now. And let's try then to grasp the hands behind our head and see if you can bend the right knee and bring the right elbow towards it for a little bit of a balancing, what do we call it? Abs exercise thingy. So we do this one again. Bring the arms out, core in, hands behind our head, bending right. See if you can kind of move into a balance. And curiosity does not need perfection. So just work as best as you can. One more time. And then you stay put. You take the right foot all the way to the back of the mat. Downward facing dog. Let's do a chest chin variation. It's very, very rare I do this. But you can come into your plank, take your knees down, and then kind of do a dogtail with your back. And then glide forward with your chest leading, your chin, your everything gliding forward with that dogtail going until you reach a variation of a cobra, mini cobra. From there, lift up and back into down dog. Let's do that one more time. Coming into knees. Maybe you're familiar with this, maybe not. Bring your hip slightly back, arch the back, and then glide forward until your navel sternum reach down, lift up. And down dog. All right. Left leg, three-legged dog. Point the toes. Keep the toes pointed as you move into plank. Push the fingers down. Strong core. And lift the foot up and back again, three-legged dog. Bring the left foot somewhat to the middle of the mat. And I glide myself in, right leg up, point the toes, lift right leg as high as you possibly can without cramping. And maybe hold on to the ankle. Feel how the ankle, the foot is moving here. Release. See if you can balance, engage everything, noticing if you feel any pain, don't do it. Bring the right knee up. Maybe you hug it in. And then lower down the right leg or foot at the top end of the mat. You stay put. You lift the left leg out to the side and go for this star thing. Squeeze the hips in. And let's do that kind of a crunch variation here. Bend left knee, left elbow for a bit of a side bend. Move slow. Release. Are you curious or are you just in pain? Just one more time. Give it your best. Lift, elongate everything. And last one. And when that is done, bring your left leg back. Hands on the floor mat, down dog. Do that chest, chin thing, variation of a vinyasa. Knees down, ducktail, and kind of wave to the front. Lift the chest and move back into down dog. Awesome. Walk your hands back. And maybe you hug your knees. Appreciating your knees. Have you ever appreciated your knees before? Let go, gather your feet, your legs, whatever can be gathered there, and sit in your chair. All right, then we're gonna explore how it feels to go low. You might say, I know that one, but let's try it anyway. So we wanna keep the knees not completely pointing over our toes, so a lot of our body weight on the heels, and then go down. We don't want to feel any pain in our knees, so I'm going to stop here. Stay there. Feel your thighs. Squeeze in. Elongate through your spine. Breathe. And then let your fingers reach down. Extend the legs. Walk your hands to the top of the mat so you find a plank with your feet together. Stay here. Then walk your feet quite wide, as wide as you feel like, and stay here. Don't hyperextend your knees. Try to find what it feels like being in this posture. A plank with wide distance. And then bring your knees in, come onto your knees. Standing in knees, finding camel or a variation. I'm not gonna go into the full variation. It's gonna lean back with a little bit of support in my back. And then folding forward, bringing the crown of the head down to the mat. I'm going to tuck the toes under. I think I've heard somebody call this a rabbit pose. So you can take your hands and kind of lock them on your foot there, one on each foot. And then push yourself, the spine towards the sky, so you feel something in the shoulders, maybe in the spine, rounding the spine towards the sky. And release. Down dog yet again. Then walk your hands to the back of the mat one more time. Instead of putting the feet together, we're going to go maybe a little bit wider than the mat. If you feel like you're gliding, maybe you just go like this. I will turn like this for the sake of the video. So we do a squat, and I like my toes pointing slightly out, not as wide a squat as we did before. You can bring your hands in on the thighs here. Gonna do called breath of fire. So it's a little bit of fun, so be curious about it. I don't want you to be dizzy, but it's actually quite a great exercise for the core. So it's gonna do like that. So you inhale through your nose and you kind of push powerfully with your core the air out in this kind of a noise. If you haven't done it before, just do it slower. But maybe do something like 12. Let's try. You count by your own. When you're done, you take a deep, big inhale. Reach the arms up overhead. Bring your hands down. Did you feel like you could push the air out and let... So see, maybe from the side. the core is going like that really powerfully. Let's just do it one more time. So I'm leaning slightly forward here, making space as I bring my arms out. Maybe you go for 20 if you feel good and used to this, maybe just 12. Count. All right. Make sure you don't feel totally dizzy. Catch your breath. Now, if you're in the process of learning a handstand, headstand, something, maybe you just do what you like to learn in your process. So do that, what you prefer. I'll try to teach you side crow today. I am not perfect at it, but that's also why I'm curious about it. So you can stay at the back of the mat. I'm going to step wider. But again, gathering my feet and my toes. I'm going to bring my core out to the side and my hands shoulder width distance down on the mat. So I am bending my knees, bringing my heels off. Kind of making my way out to the side. Now take a look. I'm going to rest my thigh on my elbow like that, and the arm or the knee joint on my other elbow. And then I'm going to lean forward and eventually get the feet off, hovering here. You can try. I'm just going to show you in another direction. So one elbow support the hip, the other elbow support the knee joint. Gonna lean in so that the heels can come off. And you're gonna squeeze it in, and you need a little bit of strength in your triceps. Just go ahead, play with it. Be curious about what it does to your body. Maybe be curious about what it does to your mind. So go for both sides. I have a favorite side and I have a non-favorite side. So just play with it as much as you like. And keep playing if you like, or find child's pose, a really regular one. All right, soon gonna finish this video. Now I want to ask you a question. What is your favorite pose? Do your favorite pose. Whatever it might be. And then add maybe a thing to it. I love half moon. I have no idea why, but I totally do. So I'm gonna do half moon. And if you have, it's on both sides, you can do both sides, right? I'm not gonna explain it because maybe then you'll just copy paste. So you do you. Maybe it's resting. But then find something in this posture that might be new. If you're doing it on both sides, you might want to switch side. And again, find a variation if you are on the other side. Get yourself into the posture that you do love or like. And then maybe go for a variation that you have seen somebody do or something. And if you're ready, just come into the top of the mat. And then I'll invite you to do a posture that you don't like a lot. Maybe not due to pain. I don't want you to hurt yourself, but a posture that you always struggle with or feel a bit, I don't like it. Try to do it again and be curious about that posture. And maybe like, I don't know what posture it might be. Maybe do down dog. Something, maybe you're like, oh yeah, that's the one. Plank, just saying. Is there a posture that you don't particularly are fond of, and then try to do it. I'm doing a tree pose. That's not my favorite one. Just breathe into it, and maybe you say something positive. Switch side if you're going for both sides in a posture, or relax and then do it again if you're not one with both sides. All right. And then you might take a seat. Any comfortable seat. We have been moving a lot on the mat. Hopefully being curious. You're welcome to rest as well. But I'll just finish this by a little bit of seated stretches. I don't do that a lot, so maybe that's also something you don't do. So staying seated, take your right hand down on the floor, bring the left arm up, and as you move to the side, try to keep both sitting bones on the mat, so we're not lean like that. So sitting bones on the mat, divide the ribs more from each other as you lean to the sides. Open up. Almost like somebody is pulling your ribs towards the ceiling. And what about if this left elbow? What about if you bring it just a little bit forward? Feel something maybe in the lower back. Or what about if you bring the elbow up and maybe slightly back? The head maybe tracks along that line. And release. Other side, same thing. And again, try to be curious about maybe differences from left to right, felt differences. Move the ribs up towards the sky. Kind of push the right sitting bone there on the mat. Relax your jaw and your neck. Moving slightly forward, noticing what's happening in the back. I am all of a sudden aware that it's harder for me to breathe when I really kind of focus on the ribs there. Move the top shoulder back, looking up. And relax. Pretty intense. Yeah, just do one of these. One elbow below, I don't care which one. We are stretching both sides, maybe a little bit uneven, but just a little bit of a stretch in the back. So I'm lifting the elbows off my chest and the hands away from my head somewhat. And then release. Maybe you're curious about resting. So come down on your mat. I will not include resting in this video, but please put a time on. If you have like a watch that's just gently shaking you and bringing your attention to to the time, it's a great thing. So I hope you stay curious in life and relationships when you're listening to people, curious about not just what to say, but what is behind people's stories and what they share. So from my heart to yours, peace and stay curious.